Okay, so this is the midterm review. Welcome to midterm review. So this is not going to be very difficult. Everything I'm about to share with you have already been talked about in class. So this is very literally a review. What you will need for your midterm exam is your Sibelius First application installed and running on your computer. So this is open book, and the time limit, ideally, I would like you to complete this part of the exam, the written part. We're only talking about the written part right now, in about an hour. And the midterm exam consists of two parts. First part is repertoire identification. Part one is listening mainly. And part two, which is this part, written exam, is going to be done on Sibelius First. And then there's some other questions in the listening part as well, which I will discuss in class. So let's begin. The first item of the midterm exam will be note values. So we will begin on the keypad, and let's just quickly go over this. And this would be a whole note. And this whole note equal to 2 half note, and equal to 4 quarter note. Now we can, of course, make it a bit higher. Let's see. And equal to 8 eighth notes, equal to 16 notes. So so on and so forth. And then there's the issue of the dotted note. So let's take a look. We got here is a dotted half note just means that this note, this little dot, represents half the value, half the note value of the half note. Same is true. A dotted quarter note, meaning that the dot equals to half the note value of the quarter note, which leaves us an eighth note. Lastly, and this is also true, and this is perhaps a little more obvious if we were to zoom in here, you see, so this now, the dot is half of an eighth note, which means it is now 3 eighth notes. So the last one is right here. Okay, so I'm gonna draw just a little bit so you can see. Use it. What? Orange. Yes. Okay. So you'll see that these 3 and these are lined up. So that's a pretty good indication of how the dotted rhythm works. Okay? All right. Now, the trick becomes how many ways? All right, so this is the question that has many creative answers. So we have, first of all, what plus what will give you a eighth note. So you'll have to come up with some creative solutions. We can also do what plus what gives us a whole note? Or what plus what plus what will give us a whole note? I will give you an example. So a dotted, actually eighth note plus a dotted will give us a half note. And then down here, what we have is, there's many combinations of a 3-note combination that'll give us a whole note. And that will be, I would say, keep maybe this. So we have a quarter note and a half note and 2, so on and so forth. So that will be how we understand the note values. How long, how much space in the fabric of time the notation occupies, indicates. Okay, so this would be the first part. Let's put this up here. Now we're going to move on to the second part. The second part is note identification, which means just note values. Alright, so next one we're going to deal with note identification. Note identification would you would probably benefit from having the keyboard nearby. So let's activate the keyboard. This is pretty sufficient. Move it over a little bit so you can see. Nice. Okay, so now what we have here is just a treble clef. So I'm going to ask you, okay, please input a middle C. Choose any note value. For example, choose any note value and type a middle C. Then you have the choice. So we have the middle C right here. So you have the choice to go like, okay, any note value. So I'm going to choose a dotted half note here, and I'm going to find the middle C. And then the middle C is right here. And that is what middle C looks like on treble clef. Okay. And the other option is, of course, hit escape to escape the hyperactivity on the page. Or click away, just click anywhere on the blank page. Or you can select a bar, type the letter N like Nancy for note entry, note input. And then you can select your note value. And in this case, I'm going to do a dotted eighth, and then I'm going to come to the keyboard and type in middle C, and there it is. There you have your middle C. And the next one I might say, use any note value to input the G above middle C. And then you can select your note value, and in this case I will select a 16th note, and I will go to the keyboard and I will type G. And then I would say, please type a below the middle C. So you know where it is. It's right here. See my mouse? It's right, the cursor. Yeah, it's right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to select a note value. In this case, I'm going to do a half note. And I'm going to come here and type in the A below middle C. That's it. And then I might say, oh, please give me a F sharp above middle C. F sharp above middle C is right here. So you go to the keypad again to select. I will just give this a quarter note and then type the F sharp above middle C. There it is. So that's all there is to know about the note identification, the note input. I'm going to escape. Okay, next we're gonna move on to scales. In specific, major scales. So major scales, the DNA of the major scale is whole, half, whole, half. That's what it is. So we're going to start the major scale. For example, use only eighth notes. Spell the G major scale in accidentals ascending, for example. That would be the question. And then you just pick a note value and you can just type it in. You see the shadow is already appearing. So this is a G major, which means the first note is G. And then you have the option of going to the keyboard, find the next note, or you can just keep typing. Whole is A, another whole step, a half step, a whole step, whole step. Whole step meaning I need a F sharp and a half step. So that will be a G major scale ascending in accidentals, spelled with accidentals. All right, next I might ask you to spell a chromatic scale. Chromatic scale in 16th notes ascending. All right, this one could be fun. You'll play with a lot of accidentals actually. So, and the quickest way is, of course, to just type it in with the keyboard. The way you do that is to highlight the bar, letter N for note input, and then you just go to the keyboard. And I will say chromatic scale starting with middle C, ascending. And descending is a different case, so we'll talk about this in a second. So ascending, you can just go to the keyboard and just type. Oh, did I say 16th notes? So you select 16th notes and you come to the keyboard to find middle C. And then you just type one half step after another. There you go. And the problem with this is that the spelling is not correct. The chromatic scale, ascending, can only be spelled with sharps, which means escape, escape, and you want to find these accidentals that are the flat. These are the Sibelius default accidental, which you want to change. So in order for this to be the correct spelling, this needs to be a D sharp. See? The D sharp. So you select the note and type enter. Type enter gives you the inharmonic equivalence. The inharmonic equivalent of a note, so a pitch. So D sharp is also E flat is also D sharp, E is also an F flat is also an E, so on and so forth. As you can see, it's highlighted. And so you want to make sure all the flats are changed to their inharmonics. B flat is also an A sharp. Now this is correct. Next, we're gonna spell the descending. Well, now the descending scale, chromatic scale, will have to be spelled with flats, the flats only. So we're gonna do this on the next staff. Same thing, we're gonna do the descending with quarter notes this time. Quarter notes is selected, and we're gonna do this bar, so it'll be note input, quarter note is selected, and the first note we're gonna do is the C above middle C. And then you just type the note in. Half step, chromatic scale, meaning half step. So you can see already escape to get out of the hyperactivity. So you can see already that majority, you see these sharps, these are not spelled correctly. These are the software default that we have to change. So here you just select the note. It's a G sharp, aka A flat. So we're gonna type the enter gives you that. F sharp is also known as G flat, and you get a G flat. And then now this is a correct spelling of the chromatic scale descending. Chromatic scale ascending, spelled only with sharps, starting any note. Chromatic scale descending, spelled only with flats. You don't have to worry about this. This is just in response to the previous A sharp, the bar before. So you can go ahead and ignore this. In fact, I'll hide this. Okay? Because you might not have that turned on in your software setting. So there's that. Now we're going to practice. I hope you'll practice with me. Is to spell another major scale. Spell another major scale, and this time we're going to spell it in right under here, right? So what's going to happen is we're going to spell a major scale, a D major scale, ascending and descending in treble clef. So let's go ahead and the exam might say spell that in 16th notes. So let's do 16th notes for this one. What you want to do is select the bar, type the letter N for note entry, and you're going to select 8th notes right here in your keypad, and then start typing in the D major scale. And here we go. That's a D. Find the D first, D major scale, so we find the D first. So this is a D. Find the whole step, half step, whole step, and half step. And then we're gonna do a D major scale descending, but in key signature. Aha! So we're no longer going to input this in accidentals. So we're gonna get out of this hyperactivity, escape, nice. And type the letter K for key signature. I will actually type this. Quick review, a key signature. applies globally. Accidental, locally. All right, so let's do this. We're gonna do D major. I just typed the letter K and the D major is showing up right here. So I'm gonna click right here, and now we have a key signature, which means everything from this point on, all the C's and F's are going to be sharp. So the D major scale, descending, in eighth notes will look like this. Type N for note input, select eighth notes. We're going to go D, Re, Do, Ti, La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re. So here we go. So then you have D major scale and label it. And the D. Oh, by the way, all I'm doing is just select a note, and I just do Command for Mac, Command T, which is for technique, but you don't have to worry about that. Just use it as a text. So this text is, this is D major scale, label it, D major scale, ascending, in accidentals. There you go. And then you can say this is D major scale, D, sending in key signature. Cool. All right. We're moving along here. These are the things that appears in the midterm written exam part. Last section of the written exam is intervals. So we will get a C major. So we're gonna cancel. We're gonna cancel this and give it back our C major template. See, this is canceled. Now, after I canceled the key signature, everything will be back to normal. So, intervals. What we need to know about intervals is that intervals are the distance. Intervals are how we describe the distance between two notes. So we will begin with unison. And this interval is best seen with staff paper. I think that's like the size of swimming pool lanes, you know. So I'm gonna enlarge this, like really enlarge this. This is very big, even bigger. Nice. And this way you can actually see the shadows between the line and the space, and that's really the most obvious way to learn interval, right? So intervals, there's just the distance, how far apart are two notes, right? So we're gonna start with just a big whole note. So I'm gonna start on middle C. So the next note is gonna be basically the next note is the distance. So the distance is right now 0. So we can type one more time. So this means this is a unison. Okay? That means no distance. Distance is 0. That's the same note. Yeah, same note in theory. On the piano, this is not possible. But violin, for example, the same note could be played simultaneously on 2 different strings, which gives you this unison kind of color. It's it's kind of rough edge. It's very interesting. I really like that as a composer. So so here's a unison, and if we select one note, I'm going to move it up. Just use your arrow key and move it up. This is a second. This is a second interval. But this is not just any second, because you see in the chromatic scale, I'm going to actually show this note right here, these two notes. You see it skipped the black key. Okay? Second to this number 2 in the interval, just meaning that it's the distance between a line and a space, or a space and a line. So it's right next to each other, right? So one more time, let's go over this concept. For example, this note and this note, the distance between these two notes is a second. All you have to figure out is whether it's a major second or a minor second. So this we will go over in detail in the last class before the midterm review. But what you need to know is that the interval that you're going to enter on your midterm exam you will always need to click them in. All right. And there are two ways to do this. One is to do what I just did, which is to just select a note value and just trace this shadow of the note. You'll have to make the staff quite big to see it very clearly. So for example, compose a perfect fifth on above A. So you're going to do A, and then you're going to have to just move this to the perfect fifth. So now you have an interval that's perfect fifth. And then you can label it perfect fifth, for example. And you may also do it, for example, we're going to do A and E flat. You can also do this, then this becomes a diminished fifth, also known as tritone. And then, of course, you can keep going. So this is one way to input intervals. The other way will look a lot clearer, but it's a little more, it's one more step. So we will do one voice, and this, you see all this 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Follow my cursor here on the keypad. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Where only the blue only means that this is the first voice. Okay, so now we're going to type in the main note. So the main note here is G, for example. And then you can go to the keypad and select second voice. You see the cursor becomes green. Green indicates the note you're about to input is going to be the second voice. So I would say, okay, now build a major third below G. Below G. Below G means major third. Okay, so it's going to be it's going to be E flat. So you go to E flat, and then you go like this. So now this becomes two different voices, as shown in the stem up and stem down, to indicate that this is now two voices, but the interval does not change, whether it's one voice or two voice, right? You can easily just make it one voice, make it two voice, and all you have to do on the Apple on Macintosh is select the note, that's the second voice, and say option 1, and then it becomes the first voice. Option 2 becomes the second voice. So it's all there is to know about note input of interval input. And this is harmonic interval that we're talking about. And that's it. That's it for midterm. The next section of this is manuscript preparation. All right, so manuscript preparation, it just means that I'm gonna give you a real piece of music from the repertoire, and you're going to copy it, almost like apprentice. Right? Back then, this is how music students learn. They learn by copying their master's music. So, of course, we're Sibelius age here, very exciting. So we're going to copy a real piece of repertoire. It's going to be a piano piece. And I will send you what that piece is in the midterm. However, what you need to know is that there might be a clef that you have to learn by research. I have taught you what a treble clef is. But clef, there are many clefs, as you can see. Type the letter Q. For clefs. So now you see there's all these different clefs. Right? The most common ones, of course, these guys. And we're only just getting to know the treble clef as of now. And the treble clef is what we're going to focus on for this part of the semester. But there's also the bass clef and the alto clef. You don't have to know about the alto clef, how it reads, but you do need to know what alto clef is and the concept of the clef. So I might ask you to, you will have to know how to input a clef. So you just select the clef, and well, in this case, it did it for me because it's highlighted. But don't do that. Type the letter Q, select the clef, and you see the cursor turned blue and active and ready to click in a clef. And this is a bass clef. And part of your exam is a little research project. What is a bass clef and how does a bass clef work? All right. So, yeah, manuscript preparation. So, for example, I'm gonna do anything here to show you. I have a piece here by Rimsky-Korsakov called Pictures at an Exhibition. Really fun piece. And so in this piece, for example, if I were to copy something, this movement, just a random movement. This is the second movement. Yeah, this is the second movement, titled The Dwarf. So first we're going to find, so this is what it looks like. I'm only gonna do the piano part here, so you're gonna get something very close to this. It's just a random piece of published music in the repertoire, right? Possibly much older than anybody you know. All right, so first is, it calls for a time signature. Time signature in this case, type T for time signature. Time signature is 3/4. And then there's the tempo marking. Tempo marking is vivo. So tempo marking, it is, wow, I only know the shortcut. Let me see if I can find it in here. You can also always type in the ribbon, tempo marking, but I'm just gonna do it here. So the tempo marking, that just tells you how fast how slow, what the mood of the piece is, and it's almost the most vital piece of information. Okay, so you see the cursor just turned blue. All I typed was Option Command T. That is the shortcut for tempo. See the text, the tempo is here. So the tempo here is vivo. Vivo means very, very active, very, very agitated, very, very fast-paced, very active. Okay, and next is, of course, key signature. You guys are gonna have fun with this. I'm having fun with this. It's 6 flats. So 6 flats, we put it here. And here we go. And it's first is in eighth notes, and we go. Oh. Yeah. C flat. It's a C flat. Okay. So in the score, it's actually both bass clef. And this guy is like this. All right. So, and this is legato. Don't move. All right. So right hand and left hand are exactly the same. So, oh, there's a fermata here. Your score would not be nearly as complicated as this. This is almost 20th century music. This is written in 19th century. So you're going to be copying something from the classical period, which is a lot more straightforward than this, and possibly in a key you already are familiar with. This is just me showing off. So, and this is the same with the left hand, but an octave lower. Superb. And dynamic marking, always Command E for dynamic marking. Hold the command key and type the dynamic. And this one, same thing. Select the note, Command E for dynamic, and this is a sforzando. So this means very loud, very present, all right, very much in your face. And this one means it's a surprise. Bong. So that's what this is. All right. So manuscript preparation, and this is copying. It just means copying this piece. So the next bar is actually super, super simple. Copy this and change this to piano. Means it's an echo. So very dong, and then dong. Oh wait, this is gone. This is gone. And the fermata is gone. And this is, and that's it. So that's my little manuscript preparation today, copying today. And this is what, publication, music publication looks like. And it should look like this, with complete info at the beginning, tempo marking, very important, time signature, key signature, very important, the notes, of course, and then the emotion of the notes, which is the slur meaning to play it connected, fermata meaning to hold it a little bit longer. These are very loud, very present, very in your face. This is boom, surprise, a punch, yeah? Very intense. This moment is very intense. It looks very intense also. All right, so this is it. You have a total of 4 sections in your written exam. Note values, we're going to do some note values, and note identification. By the way, one note about the note identification. It will be described in the system that comes with your Sibelius First, which means if this C right here, see, this is the middle C. If this middle C is described as C4, then this C above middle C is described as C5, C6, C7. So this is a D4, E4, F sharp 4. This is a F3, C3, C2, E2, G2, G sharp 2, A flat 2. Things like that. That's how they're described. Okay? All right. That's all for the midterm review. And this is fun. Thank you for watching.